Sometimes we find ourselves in a place where we have just lost something or someone that is very, very important to us. And the crisis is not simply an academic one, but is a crisis of the heart because the loss is so great. As most of you know, I faced a crisis like that 6 years ago when my wife at the time, Debbie, passed away suddenly from a brain aneurysm. And the crisis that I faced was not simply something of what should I do next. It was the crisis of deep, deep loss. And some of you may be facing a personal crisis of deep, deep loss, or you have carried a crisis of deep loss in your life forward for quite some time. And it might not be the loss of a spouse or somebody very dear to you. It could be the loss of a job, the loss of a sense of who you are. It could be the loss of physical abilities. But there are lots of losses that happen in our lives that we need to acknowledge. And they produce in our lives a sense of crisis, a sense of unsettledness, a sense of anxiety that is like none other. So what do we do? How do we navigate through those times when we are experiencing deep loss? Well, Psalm 22, which is another Psalm of David, gives us a clue. In Psalm 22, verses 1 and 2, David says this, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cried by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. And while this doesn't solve the crisis, what it does is it puts it to the right perspective. First, it reminds us that we need to cry out to God. Jesus used these very words when he was on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? In that particular case, Jesus wasn't looking for information. He understood what was happening. But in our situations, oftentimes we don't know the why. We don't know the why of our loss. We don't know what's next. And we cry out to God, which is the absolute right thing to do. We pour out our hearts. And part of navigating crisis is to pour out our hearts to God and share with him the pain that he already knows about, but that we need to express to him, to say, God, this is harder than I could have imagined. And it feels like I am all alone in this. And it feels like you have forsaken me. Now, God may be silent for a season, but part of what we need to do is express our grief, express our sadness, express our confusion, express our sense of loss. Have you named your sense of loss? Have you named what you've lost? Have you named your loss to God? And that is my question. Have you named your loss in this crisis to God? Because it is part of the healing process, part of the process of navigating through your own personal crisis of loss. It's not the best news I can give you, but it is the right news that I can give you. Express your loss to God. He will meet you